thank you everyone for joining this presentation today, where we're going to talk about the extensions and give you. I'm going to give you kind of like an overview of what it is. So first, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Lars Christensen, and I am part of the Fusion 360 Customer Success and Adoption team. And I truly appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day to join this presentation here. If I'm doing a decent job, then when we are done here in a little bit, you should have a much better idea about what these extensions are, why we're developing them. So I'll let you be the judge and the jury of that. We'll get to some Q&A in the end. So definitely, be ready to fire off any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. But let's just get into this. So we can all agree that businesses are changing in an incredible pace. And even before COVID, product development was iterating faster, and automation was a high demand in manufacturing. Your businesses have changed, so should your tools as you're looking to develop and make quality parts. Now, Fusion 360 is an investment in the future of product development and in manufacturing. So your team has the tools to automate mundane tasks, the agility and connectivity to manage supply networks, and access to the latest manufacturing technology. Teams need to work together concurrently, regardless of where they're physically located or where they sit in the development lifecycle. So if there's anything we have learned from this pandemic, is that we need to be able to adapt, and we need tools to be able to help us to achieve that goal. Now, before we dive into all the extensions of what it's all about, I think it's worth for us to just take a moment to assure that we all are centered around what is in the Fusion 360 package today. So if you have used Fusion 360, you're familiar with the design and modeling space, and you might have also used the Sculpt or T-spline technology to make complex surfaces. We have the sheet metal environment for flat patterns and calculating bend allowance. And then there's a 2D drawing environment where you can detail your parts with dimensions and make assembly drawings. We have an animation and a rendering workspace where you can show how components get together and also display them in how they will look in a finished state in the real life. Maybe use that in some kind of a marketing collateral. Now, this is what most standard CAD packages has as tools. But in Fusion, we have also added simulation. So we're utilizing Nastran, what is one of the most famous simulation solvers, and we're utilizing the cloud, so you can literally run a nonlinear stress analysis or fatigue analysis up on the cloud using a Chromebook, like one of the ones that your kids are using in school, something that is absolutely, unthinkable not that long ago. We have also added automation with generative design, and we're utilizing the cloud for sharing files and team collaboration, and for your customers to do markups for better communication. We've added ECAD, so there's schematics, there's libraries, and you can bring those PCB boards into Fusion, into your design environment. And just like anything else inside of Fusion, when you update something in one place, it updates all the way through to the coherent other places. And then, of course, there's the manufacture workspace. So we have additive in there for 3D printing, and we have subtractive for milling and for turning. This is Fusion 360 as we have it today. And it's not just CAD, it's not just documentation or rendering or manufacture, it's all these things as a one package or one platform. And that is what I'm in the rest of this presentation are going to call the core Fusion 360 offering. So today, as we're talking here in July of 2021, this is Fusion 360 Core. You can subscribe to it per monthly or per year, and I displayed the price here. This is what we call the $495 offering. There is also a personal offering of Fusion 360 that you can use unlimited. You just have to reactivate it yearly. That is targeted towards like hobbyists and tinkerers. Now, it doesn't have all the same functions, of course, as the $495. But if you're a hobbyist or want to play around on the weekends, there's all the tools you need there, even to like run something like a CNC table route or something like that. And then another important thing is, like all Autodesk software, we make it entirely available to students and educators for free. So all Autodesk software can be used by schools for their students. So the students actually get a 3-year license when they sign up, and the educators, of course, can use it, forever for that. And what that means is that we have built, and actually Autodesk Fusion just has its 8th birthday here, I think last week. We have built a community, and we are seeing a 645,000 monthly active users. That's a lot of active users every month. So the community is growing, both commercial companies and students. And we are increasing our monthly active users with about 100,000 every 12 months. And that's important because guess what? We have over 300,000 next generation entering our workforce over the next coming years. And we need to assure that these young people come in and get to use the latest technologies and not old equipment if we want to continue to move our businesses forward. So we've kind of established what the core of Fusion 360 is. So it's design, modeling, sheet metal, visualization, simulation, and the manufacture. That's the core, the 495. Extensions is the next layer of specialty tools. So Fusion extensions unlock advanced capabilities and enhanced workflows tailored to your business needs, but as you need them. So it's an extra layer of tools that you can utilize or move towards with Fusion. So when your group gets to a certain size, or you're finding yourself dealing with a lot of design changes, the Manage extension unlocks capabilities for engineering change orders, release management, automated part numbering, and email notifications. So that's data management as we know it. If we talked about sheet metal earlier, I highlighted that. So if you use sheet metal in the core of Fusion 360, you do have a range features in there. You can even drive water jets, lasers, and plasma cutters. But if you're looking for true nesting and fabrication capabilities, the nesting and fabrication extension will unlock these capabilities for sheet metal and non-sheet metal parts in preparation for cutting the CNC. We have the generative design extensions where we let you run unlimited iterations of your automated designs. And then there's the advanced machining, the machining extension, where you get machining strategies, you get tool path control, and you get automation to produce better quality parts, reduce hopefully your lead time, and maximize your ROI for your CNC machines. And lastly, we have the additive extensions, specifically pointed towards metal additive, so you get more control over support generation, toolpath strategies, and reduce lead times within the part compensation. So again, the extensions are the next layer of specialty tools. So these extensions unlocks extra advanced capabilities on top of what you have in the core of Fusion 360. And you can unlock these as you need them, and whenever it's time for that. So let's take a look at how this could look like. So meet Patrick. You're actually gonna hear from Patrick a little bit later in this presentation. But Patrick works in a machine shop, and Patrick runs a standard Haas VF2 3-axis mill. It's probably the most standard CNC mill you can get. Patrick can do all his design and all his programming with the core of Fusion 360. Now, in most machine shops, you don't have just one machine or one person. You have more machines, more people. So meet Sanjay. And as many machine shops, one guy, maybe both do the setup and do the programming and running of the machine. So Sanjay can also use the core of Fusion 360 to run his Haas machine. So one of the things about Fusion 360 is that it's assigned to each user with their email address. So there's no network required. You don't have any serials numbers you have to manage, or license servers or dongles. This is much simpler, it's less expensive, and it's much more convenient this way. Now, I highlighted earlier that Fusion also does turning. So let's add Jan. She runs a Haas 2-axis lathe and can again use the core of Fusion 360 to program that. And though this is all Haas machines on the screen, we have a great relationship with Haas Automation. We support, of course, all machine tool builders. So let's add Lauren, who runs a Doosan 3-axis. So this is a perfect picture of most machine shops. So you're running your different machines, you can use the core Fusion 360 to program your machines. Now, in most businesses, in the beginning, you take on pretty much whatever job you can get your hands on, right? But as time goes by, many times because a specific customer continues to send you orders, you maybe start to see your business starts to lean towards specialties. Most likely the company you're working for, you have some kind of an edge strategy or something that your company is really good at. When I worked at Ritlam, we started to make a lot of hydraulic manifolds. So we were a machine shop, and then we started going more and more towards these hydraulic manifolds. So when your business starts to pivot in a specific direction, you start to look at where you can optimize, where you can enhance things. So one example could be Sanjay here. He might decide to replace his Haas machine with a Fanuc robo drill. That was we ended up doing at Ritlam, because hydraulic manifolds has a lot of holes, and we could speed up the process by upgrading to another type of machine tool. We actually ended up having 3 robo drills with pallet changers running at one point, still using the core of Fusion 360. You might also start thinking, when you start thinking about how can we be better, you might start thinking about like machine downtime. So this case here, we might add a programmer that is sitting in an office, Andy, that can help creating programs to limit the machine downtime. So whenever Patrick or Lauren or Sanjay or Jan are programming their machines, that they're not sitting still while they're waiting for a program. And of course, again, Andy can use the core of Fusion 360 to program those machines as he's helping out. Now let's look again at Patrick. We started out with him. So Patrick is using the core Fusion of 360. And one of the things that there is on a Haas machine, most Haas machines, is a spindle probe. That's an option you can buy with a Haas machine. And with the core of Fusion, we have something called work coordinate system probing. So Patrick on his machine can take the material, put it in the machine, and he can utilize that probe in the machine to tell the machine where that material is placed on the table. Now, as you start thinking about this, if you have a machine that has a spindle probe, you might think about other ways you maybe can specialize, or you can find a way to save time. And that's where the extension can maybe be a valid place to look at. So just within the machining extension, there is valid options to do probe geometry, surface inspection, and part alignment. So what that means is, and I have a little video here just to show you. So you can see here, and then on a standard machine, one of our guys in the Birmingham office manually trying to indicate in this part, tapping it while he's moving the indicator over the part. This is very time consuming versus this. If you have a spindle probe in the machine, you can utilize the automation and have the machine pick up its own parts. So this is part of what you can do with a machining extension. And this can like trickle down in the manufacturing process. You can also check inspection and pick up the machine in this fashion here. You will actually hear Patrick talking about this in just a minute in the video I'm going to play for you. So with this, if Patrick want to utilize this extra function of the spindle probe, he can just turn on the machining extension for his seat of Core Fusion 360. Now, Andy might also choose to turn on the machining extension, so he also can utilize using the probe for part alignment or inspection of the parts. And of course, the programs that he's creating, if Lauren or Sanjay or Jan also have spindle probes, that technology can be used there. His machining extension can be valid on the other people's machines. And this is many times what happens, right? Where you start thinking about what you have today, but when you start searching for that competitive edge, it makes sense that you need and you want to unlock new tools, new possibilities, but you want to do it when you are ready. So other functions inside the machining extensions, and this is stuff that we have taken from Power Mill. This is the inspection you just saw is from Power Inspect and also Feature Cam. We have some really high-end tool path that we can activate with the machining extension. So Patrick might decide that, you know what, I am going to upgrade my machine to something like a 5-axis UMC. So now with the machining extension, he not only opened it up with getting probing and taking advantage of some capabilities there, when he updates his machine tools to high-end specialized machine tools, the extensions can fill that spot, help him achieve a higher output and save more time. This also goes when you're adding other high-end machine tools. You can turn on adding the core of the Fusion 360 and then add the extensions on as you need them, because they're assigned again to your licenses. Now, another interesting example, and this happens all the time in job shops, is what happens when Andy is falling behind on his programming, or God forbid that he decides to take some vacation. Well, another valuable thing with the extensions is that if Andy want to offload some of his programming to, for example, Sanjay can turn on the machining extension for a day, for a month, or for a year. It's literally that easy, as you can do it right from within the software. You can go and you can turn it on that extension right in there. And when you're done with it, you can just turn it off again, right? Like you have this flexibility to try it on. And that we think is very important, because Fusion is assigned to the person. It doesn't take IT or management to start deciding who is entitled to certain specialty tools. You literally turn it on and off for when you need it, for whoever that person that needs it to it. So it's not serial numbers. It's not this complicated ways that we used to do it. It's literally just to go in and say, you know what, Lawrence should have access to this because there's certain things she's trying to do. Here you go, and you have access to it. So extensions lets you automate manually. It eliminates repetitive workflows to save the time and produce better quality parts. And that's important for us in our companies, right? To share our best practices across teams to improve process consistency and to allow new workers to become productive sooner. And that's where, for us, that having the core of Fusion and then adding the extension that's the next layer makes a lot of sense, because underneath the core of Fusion 360, we have the data. So whether your team is using extensions or not, they can all access the same data on the cloud, and that allows them to collaborate and share all kinds of things, not just models and the designs, but also tool libraries, fixtures, assemblies, or setup sheets. This is actually how Andy can communicate with everybody on the team, is by using the Fusion team. So even though that Fusion licenses are assigned, or the subscription is assigned by the user who's using it, the person, they're all still connected with this data in the Fusion team. And that's important. And it's something that I want to make sure that, we think about, because as we are going through, now when we are getting through this pandemic and we are on the other side of it, and we're starting to ramp everything up again, we know that we need to improve things if we want to make things better for the future. And that's where data becomes extremely important, because it makes sure that the right people have the right information at the right time. Today, most people in design and manufacturing, either engineers or designers or people programming CNC machines, see this. 30% of engineers' time is wasted with tedious tasks, like chasing down the latest version of a file. It's messy and it's complicated. So imagine you have a single designer or engineer or a programmer in an R&D department, a small business. These people have to wear multiple hats. And in the past, that meant multiple products, multiple pieces of software. But with Fusion's flexible and intuitive platform, things can be configured to your team size, use case, and workflow. So you get access to the enterprise-grade features and services you need, but you only pay for what you use. So by simplifying this, we're giving you access to tools you need today and provide technology that you need for the future in a way where you can choose what you need, when you need it, and you can make it less expensive and more convenient. The integrated platform connects your entire product development and manufacturing ecosystem with a central cloud-based model, and is eliminating the friction between people, activities, and your machines. So your teams can collaborate seamlessly and spend more time on innovating. So Fusion 360 is an investment in the future product development and manufacturing. It's catalyzing innovation across disciplines, so your team has the tools to automate mundane tasks, the agility and connectivity to manage supply networks, and access to the latest manufacturing technologies to realize previously impossible outcomes. And with that, let's hear from Patrick.
The machining extension, it just really opens up a lot of added features that we use, like doing really advanced stuff. In the beginning, we kind of held off on purchasing it because, we weren't really sure what all those features did. Once we got into using them and seeing like how powerful they were and, the time savings that they provide, it was really clear that that extension was worth its weight in gold.
When everyone thinks of Pittsburgh, they think of this blue-collar steel town, traditional, old, dirty manufacturing. The people who haven't been in Pittsburgh for a while or ever don't know how much things have changed. Engineers are trying to achieve very complex goals and make very advanced mechanical assemblies and components. What used to take a very long time to figure out, because they might have to go get a piece of material and start machining it to actually give that feedback. Now we can virtually simulate so much of that. And one of the big ways we do that is as soon as they come to us with the problem, we load it into Fusion 360 and we pull it up and we can right away start looking at geometries, measuring different aspects of it, making slight changes, or starting to put it in our machines and see how it'll fit and how feasible it is, and start giving them feedback right away. And what's really important about us having these kind of advanced tools for what we're doing is we can be so much more agile than what manufacturing used to be known as.
A traditional job shop has few programmers and a lot of operators. So they do, they program a handful of parts a week. We program a handful of parts a day.
The machining extension, it has collision avoidance and full 5-axis moves and everything like that. So you can really do some really advanced stuff on the CNCs with like the steep and shallow tool path, which is extremely powerful.
Right now, this machine's doing our part alignment on this casting that I spoke about. Typically, that would involve like a lot of shimming the part, defining it, making it really flat. It takes hours a lot of times. It's really stressful. With Fusion 360, the Pro does all that work. So it's a huge cost savings.
We know everyone's on a tight timeline, and we make sure we're using the most cutting edge tools we can. And that's why we're using Fusion 360. We can usually pass it from the shop floor to sales to even QC looks at it, and it really embodies the whole agile movement that's in engineering, and such a buzzword in that industry. No one really thinks of it when they think of manufacturing. It was always the old waterfall methodology, but things are changing pretty quickly, and that's thanks to the advanced softwares that we have, like Fusion 360, that we have access to now.
All right, so Fusion 360 brings together the technologies that previously were separated, right? So by building Fusion 360 in this way, we are able to bring 3 main ways together. So with an integrated platform, it makes it easier to connect all phases of your product development process. And you can view the data from one single source and easily collaborate with both internal and external stakeholders. And you have access to your data and technology across devices from a single affordable offering. And that is what we are trying to add on top of that with the extensions. We are unifying our most potent technologies under the power of one single platform that is enabling a cohesive experience across design, engineering, and manufacturing. So this is the idea of adding these extensions on top of the core of Fusion 360. So we talked about the machining extension that gives you these strategies, tool path controls, and an automation to make better quality parts. And again, this technology is being pulled from Power Mill, from Power Inspect, and from FeatureCam. Talked about sheet metal, so that's in core Fusion 360. Also in core Fusion 360, you have all the tools to do your water jet, your laser cutting, and your plasma cutting. Now, with the nesting and fabrication extension, you're adding those optimized tools for you to go ahead and do multi-sheet layouts with this. And this is technology that we have pulled from TrueNest. So about the plastic additive that is in the core of Fusion 360, so FDM, 3D printing. Well, we have pulled in the metal additive from NetFab technology. There's 2 things in there. There is the build extension that would help you generate the better streamlined print prep, because metal additive is fairly expensive, but also it takes a long time to print that. Now you get control to build those lattice work and those things. And on top of that, we have in preview right now our additive simulation extension. So again, this is for metal additive, but what that will let you do is simulate the build. Just like you can do with CAM of see tool collisions, you can now actually look in the print and see warpage of other things will happen doing the metal additive print. And then where I started out with the Manus extension, where you can control the workflows that your designs have to go through. If you have multiple people working on the same design data, you can then control how they're going to work through a data management system. You can control release data and so forth. And then there is generative design. Now, generative design, with the extension, we've added an unlimited solve. So this technology, which uses AI to automate design to manufacturing process, engineers and manufacturers can now define their problem statements and objectives. And this lets AI automate the creation of multiple validated designs. So the engineers can select the option that uses what preferred manufacturing methods. So this is a way to automate your design process depending on what manufacturability you have on hand. Should it be a casting? Do you have a standard free axis mill? Do you have 5-axis? Do you have additives? Should it be a combination of both? And that's where generative design will go in and literally, like we have lights out machining, this is what I would call lights out modeling. This, what you're seeing here on the screen, is actually a motorcycle upright by MJK. And if you're looking at it here, you will see that on the left side of your screen, you have a human design upright by MJK. If you're looking at the far right of the screen, you'll see the additive generative part, but you will see that it's very expensive. The blue one is a 2.5-axis generated by a computer, and it's the same price range as the human design, but it's 23% lighter. And that's important if you're making high performance motorcycles. Go back one. So the digital transformation is here. We have the technology, but it equally depends on the transformation of people. You can have all the tech in the world, but if you forget people, it won't make a difference. So we do need to bridge the innovation gap, but we also need to bridge the skill gap. We need to train ourselves. We need to train the next generation, those 300,000 we just looked at earlier, on new tools and all the new ways, specifically as we're coming back after the pandemic, and new ways of thinking. The great news is that you're not alone. So Autodesk is working with an entire ecosystem of manufacturing partners to help you on your journey for digital transformation, to help you reimagine your digital manufacturing strategy, to help you up-level your skills, and to help you deliver innovation. And we are doing this by simplifying the way, taking the different disciplines and different teams and come together in one product and in one manufacturing environment. We are convinced that product development and manufacturing of tomorrow is not about just painting more pixels on a screen. It's about enabling you to make products that compete more effectively in the market. Now, data is a digital thread that ties all together and drives the convergence. It's about creating a common data experience that gives you a complete view of your products and processes. And that starts with Fusion 360 Core, where you can communicate with your team members on Fusion Team, but it's still assigned to each person, because that's what we are. We are people. We're not serial numbers. And then with the extension as that extra layer of specialty tools that you can utilize when you need. And with that, we'll jump in to any Q&A that potentially come through here. So let me just go ahead and let's see. If you have any questions, feel free to throw those in there. I also talked about that there was a, I showed the 495. There is actually a promo going on right now. So that is good to know, that you can actually get 30% off Fusion 360, and that will run through the entire month of July. One thing I wanted to share with you is how do you get the extensions? And I actually thought I would just show you that live, because that's always more fun. So there's different ways that you can access the different extensions. One way is, let's just jump into Fusion here. So let me just change my screen share. So inside of Fusion 360, I was going to get my picture out of my own picture out of the way. Up here, there is in the upper right, there is an extension button. And if you click on that, it will open up the extension manager. So this goes back to Patrick and Sanjay and Lauren inside of Fusion. You can literally go in here. You can turn on the Manus extension. You have the generative design. We have the machining extension that we saw a lot about. Notice how you have all this information about what is in there. So if you're a user today, you can literally go in here and you can check it out. And you can access it by, like I said, you can purchase it for 1 day. You can purchase it for a month. There's even, a 7-day free trial. You can get up and running with it in here. So right from within the software, you have the button up here. You would actually also find, if you go into some of the different workspaces, you will see in the icons up here that it will tell you more about the different extensions. So if I go into the fabrication extension, again, I have this plug. Because I don't have that activated, I can click on that and I can go ahead and get that. So that's one way you can get the extensions. And see, we already got some questions, so I'll hurry up here. Another way that I would recommend you to get extensions is Google. Go out here, and if you type in Fusion 360 extensions as a Google search, you will see the first thing you get is you can get to our landing page for Fusion 360. And here you can read up about the different extensions. So for example, again, if we go in and we take the nesting and fabrication extension, if I click on learn more on that, it will take me and give me specific information about the nesting automation. And I can then go in and click on subscribe. And it shows here that because I'm not signed in, it doesn't know that I have a Fusion subscription. So it offers me that with a discount. I could add that. I could say no, thank you. And you will see here that you can go in and you can get it for a special offer at the $1,120. You can sign up for a year of that. So that's the year term, or you have the month term in here too. Again, giving you the options to sign on when you need it. And the third option I want to show you is that you can of course reach out to us, right? Depending on where you're located, we have people ready to talk to you. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, and all those things, you have those options. All right, we got a couple of questions. So let me see if I can answer these. So can the data management extension be turned on and off as required? I'm interested in better file management and part numbering. Yes, so that's the same thing with the Manus extension. You purchase a term of it, right? So you can go ahead and you can buy a month of the Manus extension. And if you choose, you can do the 7-day trial and you get those enhanced capabilities of part numbering, and you can do change management and things like that. Now this is, again, it's a layer on top of your core Fusion. So you start using it. I'm assuming if you start using it that you want to continue using it. If somebody else don't have it, that you got to work with it, it's not a problem. If you decide not to use, let's say you buy 1 year of the Manus extension and decide, you know what, I don't want to continue, that's fine too. Your data is still, the data will go back to normal. So that's the idea about the extension, the whole idea. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, right? Like it's instead of with a lot of other software where you kind of trying to think ahead. You don't want to spend too much money, but you're also trying to figure out what do I need down the road potentially, and you're trying to find that balance between what you can invest with. With this, you can actually do it whenever you need to, or you can go backwards, right? And this is one of my favorite things about Fusion. Fusion is built on how we operate today with software, where you can go backwards or forwards. That's allowed. That's the flexibility that you need as a business. We've just been through this huge pandemic. The fact is that, you know, you need to be able to change. As more people get added to your teams, or people change, or whatever. I hope that answered your question, Andre. Mark asks, is 4Axis included in the $4.95 subscription, or is that extra? If extra, how much more is it monthly or yearly? So it depends on what you want as a fourth axis. So there is fourth axis indexing that you can do with the core. I'm 95% sure. You can do that with the core. You can adjust that. But if you do want to do full rotary fourth axis, and that many times actually depends on what you have, right? Like some indexers can't do full axis, they just need to step around. But yeah, if you want the full, then you need the machining extension to do the full fourth axis. And what is the price on that? Well, right now, hang on. Like, there's no reason for me to let's get back out here to the Google Chrome, where I showed it to you. So let's just get out of this and let's get back to our extensions. So here, if you go to the machining extension, and here you can read a lot more about this and get all these things answered. But if you have a core seat of Fusion 360 today, and hang on, it didn't they had the nesting fabrication in there from before. So 1 year today is 1,100, 200 plus your regular Fusion license. And if you want to do it for a month, then it's going to be $200 for 1 month. So there you go. This is where you can go right now. You can purchase it. You can purchase right from the software or whatever you need. So I hope that answers your question there, Mark. Thank you. All right. Another question here. Will it be possible to simulate printed parts, taking into account the presets of 3D printing, infill or outer fill? Oh, sorry, I mean simulation using finite element methods. Yes, so it actually will. You can totally do that. What you will do is you will process. So it depends on what kind of work order you do things in, right? Like, so if you do a 3D model of a part, and you want to be able to do the infill for 3D printing, then you normally want to send it over into your manufacturer workspace. Now, you could potentially turn that in to a solid model, and then bring that into the FEA, a finite element, and then run your FEA analysis in there. So it is possible to do it like that. It depends on in what order you're working with things, right? So if you're just modeling a part up and you want to do it as a 3D printed part, if you're using I'm guessing I'm going in two different directions here. I apologize for that. So if you model up your part and you run it through standard finite element analysis, or FEA, that is to make sure that the part can withstand whatever it does. Now, if you're using the simulation for additive, specifically for metal additive, you have all the lattice work and things like that, infill in that, then some of the things that the simulation in the extension will do is it will not see if the part is, well, it will see if the part breaks, but it will also see if it warps or other things. If you want to take that part with an infill and bring it into a finite FEA analysis, then you can totally do that. You just have to get that in as a solid model. I hope that answered your questions. Thank you. All right. Perfect. Any other questions? Any other thoughts, comments? Did this work? Was this useful to you guys? I hope it was. I hope that after this, that you feel a little bit better about what all this means, and really where our heads are at Autodesk and what we are trying to achieve with the core of Fusion 360. That was one thing I wanted to make sure that you understand what the idea behind that is. And then as you specialize, as you're, and I know you all are doing this, like looking for how can we be better? How can we improve? Especially, after this year 2020 of what we've been through, it's been so crazy, right? And now we're thinking about, all right, now what are we going to do next? As you're leaning towards that, it's important that you can take your business in whatever direction you want to do. And that's why we are not putting it on as like one big package. Because, somebody does advanced machining will never do nesting and fabrication. Or somebody who's doing, nesting and fabrication never really wants to look into additive, for example. So that's the idea. Perfect. All right. Very useful. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for watching the YouTube videos too, for sure. So with that, if there's no other questions, let me just check one more time. There's no other questions. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking the time to join this. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to do that. I want to thank you for being part of the Autodesk family, for continue to use our software. We truly appreciate it, and we are working hard to give you more tools. There will be more extensions coming too in different variations, and we are excited about it, and we're excited about hearing your feedback and how you use it. So with that, I will end this presentation. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have an awesome day. Take care.